This conference will now be recorded.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Chairman Hildebrand,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chapel,
Here.
Councilor Orpesa,
Here.
Councilor Corn,
Here.
Councilor Marujo.
Here. We have, if I can get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
I'll move that.
Second. So moved and seconded. Councilor Marujo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Being none, so moved. If I can get a motion for the approval for the April 25th meeting. Second. I got a motion by
Councilor Orpesa,
and
second.
by Councilor Corn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so. First item on the agenda is a non-action item. It is a report from our community development. Ms. Vickers here.
Yeah.
There you
Right
are.
there. Take your glasses.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Now I can see you.
Good afternoon. Was a pretty typical month for business license, 21 issued for vendor, 28 home occupation, 180 commercial. Renewals were around the same numbers, 19 for vendors, 30 home occupation, 158 commercial. We had 179 total permits issued with our building department. There are some more in detail if you want to know specifics on what was issued there. As well as some of the financials attached to that. I did submit a report to the newspaper, although I'm not sure that it was actually in the newspaper, so I don't know why. But I will tell you what is going to be, maybe they'll publish it this Sunday. Murphy Oil, that gas station on West 2nd Street, is now under construction. Previously, they just had the land development agreement. That's going to be a 2,800 square foot gas station convenience store. The inside build out for Hotworks is going to be in the new Starlight Plaza, which is 3606 North Main Street. And that's like a hot yoga 24-hour infrared fitness studio. The former Leisure Inn at 2700 West 2nd Street is Church on the Move's new project. They are renovating that for their Dream Center, and I'm providing a website for people to click on, which gives Church on the Move's full description of what they plan to do with that project. So I thought they speak for themselves there. But a link to click on there. Firehouse Subs, the inside build out is finally underway with that. I was hoping to get an estimated open date, but I couldn't get the contractor to call me back in time. But I'm thinking probably a couple months. So I know that's been sitting for a while, but the inside is finally being worked on.
They'll put a lot of rumors to rest.
Yeah. So and the last one was Station Choo Choo Nursery, which is just going to be a new daycare, and that is 602 East College, just the renovation of the commercial suite there.
Great.
That's all I have. I stand for questions.
Any questions of Ms. Vickers? See, we pulled 12 new residential construction permits, which is a good sign. But that was all one, it wasn't.
12 of them were, I think 23 were the total new construction. 12 were pulled by Frederick Brothers.
That's a good sign. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Thank you. Next. Ms. Bell. How are you?
I'm great. How are you all today?
Thank you.
I have a report for the month of April, and we had a total of 20 calls for accidents or incidents. 12 of those happened to be caused by third party. If you'll turn the, there you go. This is a call that the city went to. What happened, to give you a little bit of background, is after a holiday weekend, we had coals, people put their barbecue coals in the dumpsters. And what happens is that the sanitation department, as they're going by to pick up these dumpsters, do not see that the coals are in there. They might be not burning, they might be smothered, whatever. But as soon as they empty that into their vehicle, guess what? It gets oxygen, and then we have combustion going on inside the sanitation truck. I wanted to bring this out and make sure that, are all of these safe? They should not be all. If you'll go to the next one. There you go. I wanted to bring this to your attention because we had an experienced driver with the sanitation department. He was on his normal route that day. He did not see the coals burning in the dumpster, but what he did notice as he was going to his next location is that suddenly he had a fire in the back of his truck. He was able to determine where he was and where the ability or where a location that he would be able to dump the contents of his truck without putting anything or anyone's property in danger. He did know this empty lot. He got into this lot and he was able to empty his truck. Fire was on, they were on site almost immediately when they got the call, and it did take them a little bit of time to put out the fire, working with sanitation. Sanitation brought grapple trucks over, and in fact, they did clean up this whole lot of all the debris. There was some mattresses, there was some old furniture that was on this lot that normally wouldn't have been there. But they did clean up that lot and they left it very clean. But the firemen were very professional. They made sure that they were putting out all the hot spots so that when we did go ahead and truck that, load that onto the dump truck again, that we didn't have an issue. You're seeing a small truck. What do they call this small truck?
Brush.
A brush truck. And then you have an engine with the grapple. This is the damage that it did to the truck from sanitation. Had he not been able to empty that quickly, we could have had even greater hazard with whatever product was in the truck burning, as well as it could have done damage to the electrical or hydraulics or any number of different items. This is some minor damage because he was on top of it and he knew how to get the debris out of that truck very quickly. Someone that's not as experienced as these drivers or as experienced and quick to get to that fire, it could have been a severe, a great loss to us. Those trucks cost what normally?
450.
Yes, sir, about 450,000. So we are very proud that all we had is some paint damage and nothing that wasn't repairable. But I did want to just take the time to show you what third-party damage can do. And this could have, if we had to dump it somewhere that it had not been able to remove out of that vehicle or another home or somebody's property was there, it could have been a whole lot more damage than what it did. I just wanted to brag on our guys, not only sanitation, but our firemen also. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's say we did have motor vehicle accidents. We had a total of 5 motor vehicle accidents. We had 1 with animal control. Police had 3. Streets had 1. 2 of the 3 from police were third-party caused, no fault of the officers. And so we had 3 of the total being third-party caused and 2 being damaged from something that happened with the city. We had property damage, 6 calls for property damage. 4 of those were third-party caused, not a fault from the city. We had illness and injuries. We had 10 of those. 5, half of those were caused by third party doing damage to our employees. And I stand for any question. Yes, sir.
Any questions?
This council is so quiet. I mean, we had
when we had a tragedy like this with fireworks, we banned fireworks. Maybe we ought to ban barbecue grills and charcoal and stuff.
Okay.
If you don't have this problem with a gas grill,
You don't.
Yeah.
just wondering how you're thinking. I just
Well,
wondering.
I will make an observation that we're trending down in our accidents. If you look at the prior years, we're doing a good job. Good. I mean, you look at, we're 1/3 of the way into the year, we've got 100 total incidents, so we're heading in the right direction. So whatever training or whatever you're doing with the employees, you're doing great. So,
I'm excited that over 50% are not due from our city
Does that mean you
employees.
don't want to answer my question?
yeah, you have questions.
We'll have to buy mesquite for those grills, right? No,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the answer is for people dumping their fireplace ashes, their coal. I don't know the answer to that.
Could be a
They
PS.
did it when we used to burn trash cans, so I mean,
Yes, sir.
I'm probably the only one that's ridden around in a trash truck in every alley in town.
I mean, you
But
might,
I have, so I know about all that stuff.
Every alley?
Yes, sir. I've been in every alley. I counted every can.
Good for you. How many?
I don't know, it's a long time. Hampshire didn't pay me by the can.
Didn't have enough fingers and toes when I was going with it.
yeah, can do that job.
Been in the 70s.
We do have OSHA 10 class that starts tomorrow in general industry. We also have defensive driving that we have for the next 3 days. It is 1 day per class from 9 to 4. And we are getting more training, as well as we are seeing a trend down, and we want to keep seeing that. My opinion, 1 is too many, but
We're heading in the right direction.
any other questions? Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Ms. Bell. Thank you. Next, we have HR monthly report. It's on time.
How's everyone doing today? Yeah. For April, the city hired 22 new employees. We had 7 promotions and 21 exits. Our turnover rate for the month of April is 3.2%, and for the year, it is 12.96%. We did see an uptick in turnover in the month of April, and our vacancy rate ended at 15.6%. I understand that last month there were errors in the report that was provided out to the team. It was a report that we had created recently from Tyler, and it was a report that's really a click of the button. So based on the title, you click the title and the report comes out. And there were some errors that were made in that in terms of reporting those details. So what we did to ensure that we rectified that situation is we did a complete manual audit of all employees, all departments, and all positions of all existing employees. We also aligned with the total payroll number of employees that were paid in the month of April, which were 654 employees. Any questions in regards to those details?
You want to have any questions of Ms. Montaigne? Councilor Pesa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last meeting that we were at, it was reported that we had 690 employees. Is that not correct?
The budget calls for 690 FTEs.
But 654 were on,
654 were the total number of employees that were paid in our payroll system. So anyone that actually received payroll and benefits.
does that include elected officials?
Yes, it does.
So I'm kind of.
These are the differences, and I think we had pointed it out at budget, there's part-time positions that were budgeted as well. So I think what Molly is referring to are the full-time equivalent positions and not
Okay.
necessarily the part-time. Yes, sir.
There's quite a few.
Yes, there's quite a few of them. Those are not included in these total numbers. And for some reason, we're not sure why we're not able to report them collectively, but we'll work on being able to report FTEs separate than seasonal, part-time, and seasonal and part-time employees.
And I just gotta say, thank you for this report.
Yes, I understand that that was requested and not provided last month, so that will be included in all the reports going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mark. Next is the report on our city clerk.
Here. We've got a report in there, there's business as usual, business from the ordinary. We are trying to fill some positions for the commissions and committees. Cemetery has 2 vacancies, Commission on Aging has 1. Keep Roswell Beautiful has 1, OTD has 1, and that's for lodging. Parks and Rec has 1, and we have 1 vacancy. Stand free.
Anyone have any questions about it? Well, clerk? Get off easy today. Being none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is in our agenda item, which is the ordinance concerning a recommendation to authorize to advertise for public hearing of proposed ordinance 24, amending chapter 26 of the Roswell City Code related to utility rates. Mr. Glenn, please.
This is the ordinance that was forwarded to you from the Finance Committee. It had, yes, don't look at me sideways like that.
You've been looking at me sideways since I got in this room, so.
So the request from out of this was to get rid of the 200% increase for customers outside the city, charging them double the rate. The proposal that's in front of you is charging 125%. It would only be 25% more than what city residents are paying. Next slide. Can't see the numbers there, but so if we did it the same as the inside city rates, we would be losing off of what the current rate is. Our current rate is 4.2 million is what we're projecting in income. If we did the outside people the same as inside, you collect 2.1, it would be 2.1 million decrease in the budget. The next line over is at 125% of the inside city rate. The revenue is projected at 2.67 with a 1.6 million decrease from what is currently in the mix. I was asked to bring you a copy of an inventory of what we have that's outside the city. I provided that to the council members. With one exception, and that's the people out on Wyo Road and that area, Sunset, Sunrise, somebody out there. All of the infrastructure for the city goes just to the meter or to the meter box. Out there, they have a master meter, and then from that master meter, it's private out to the individual residents, and they have meters set at each residence. So we have to take care of the meters out there, but not the infrastructure. Stand free.
Well, you must have some large users out there because I tallied up 174 customers that are outside the city supplied to us here. And that comes out at the 2.6 million, that's $15,000 a customer. You must have some big usage customer out there.
Well, and you have, like out on Pine Lodge, we have it's one customer and it serves like 10 to 15 houses out there. But it's only under one customer because that's the way they've done it.
It just seemed like a large.
Yeah.
per customer.
And there's a couple out there that are like that, there's one master meter that we service to, and then past that, there's several customers that are working off the single meter.
So there's more than 74 users. We just don't know how they go, right? Because once they split them off.
Yep, once they split, that's how many we have on the books right now.
Okay,
Can you run those by the list of who owns the meter and where it is? I mean, so you go in there, you're gonna have a lot of use from a school.
Yes,
You know, so your school's gonna be like, or might be like Mountain View where we run a line to them, but nobody will hook up.
we've got Barindo.
You got
School is on
Brindle
that.
schools, you got both Brindle schools or just one? Or you have Brindle Elementary, you have that one,
The one out there by Walmart.
right.
yeah.
Then we've got the one out on Sunset.
And then you got Brenda Mid.
So there are some larger customers in
Water
there.
co-op.
They're in the co-op.
Yeah, Brendwell
Brenda.
City.
They're in the Brenda co-op. Okay. Okay. Any questions?
I've got several.
Counselor Corn.
So, Mr. Chairman, so the numbers you're using are the estimated numbers after the rate increase goes into effect, correct? Correct. So, refresh my memory, I don't believe this was a conversation for the last, year and a half, we've been working on that?
No, we brought it up when we first started talking about rates. Everybody said, keep it at what it is, and that's what we ran with.
Okay, all right. So the twice the amount was done by the city council that was in office in January of 1992. And when it started, there was probably, because I questioned there's two city councilors at the time that are still alive. I was able to get a hold of one of them and get his ideas. There was not a full-blown study done. It was just a number they came up with. That's not for me to decide at this point. That was their decision back then. And I believe, if I'm reading these minutes correctly, it was January 9th, 1992. And I don't know when it actually went into effect. Couldn't ascertain that. I've made copies for everybody. And at the time, there was just, I don't know, according on my one conversation, there's probably less than 10, certainly less than 10 houses on it. And so this has been going on ever since.
Got the feed.
And there's been a lot of buildup, as we see by the maps you supply. And it's branched out further since then. And what was originally discussed at the city council meeting. And now I know about the second, I think this is the one that goes all the way out to the.
Yes. So that's another one of that would be one of the other larger customers is Bottom Shore.
And we just replaced that line, correct?
Correct.
To wherever they come on.
We replaced it out to the test facility.
Okay, and then they pick up the test facility.
Yes.
And looking at this map, I'm assuming that that's the test facility because we also supply water at that one.
Yes.
What's this red line on? 1, 2, 3, 4, page 5 of your handout.
The red lines are typically city boundaries. I don't know what that is, but that's a little odd.
Well, so red line, I should assume that the red lines on the rest of these
Yes.
So it looks like we're making a big decision. And we haven't really thought about this. I haven't seen these maps till I sat down here. I don't know how many people are, we guess, and how many of these people that you have listed here would be considered commercial customers?
If I remember right, there was, and don't quote me on this, but I think we have approximately 200 that are considered commercial right now.
The new,
No, that's, there's 200 and some total customers out there. There's less than 10 that would go into the new large commercial breakdown.
the new warehouse facility out there, real close to the cemetery, is it hooked onto this system?
And they're
Yes.
inside the city.
They're inside the city though.
Oh, that's inside the.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Put the cemetery in there, and that was all cemetery land when they put it in.
Oh,
Imagine that's the way that.
well, this is my thoughts about this, is that we just got this new rate study done. Hadn't even gone into effect yet. It won't in another couple of months. We don't know how close our estimates are on the money that's coming in. Depending on where you go, you're looking at, that's 1.6 at the 125% rate, which is the proposal for us.
Correct.
And I don't know where you're gonna make that up. That's a big hunk of redoing the critical line that we need to be starting to replace at $1,000,000 a mile or whatever it is. And we just raised it on our family, being the citizens inside the city limits, and now we're asking for a deal for our neighbors. Love my neighbors. I need to take care of my family first. And so right now, without having some data point, a collection, which I hope we have something in 6 months when we're bound by our ordinance to look at this, that we'll have, hopefully we're on track. But we won't have the full winter season, which normally is a downward trend. We won't have the full summer season yet, which is normally an upward trend on water usage. So I just think this is not a good time to take this up. Yeah.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is for the mayor. Do you think that if we reduce it to 125%, we'll get more people hooked up to the system out in the county? And do you think it would be enough to offset this? We have 127 registered customers. Do you think 127 additional customers would come on if we did 125%, in your opinion?
You know what?
Infrastructure.
Yeah, we'd have to change the infrastructure to do it. Most of these people, the water is so bad where they are that they can't drink it, for a lot of them. And so that's one thing to know, if you're, by not having a usage pattern by how many gallons each one of these uses, you can't distinguish between a commercial plan or there's a lot of people out there by the country club that the water is so bad, you really can't even water your yard with it.
But as far as infrastructure, they're still responsible for putting it in. As soon as it's acceptable, the city takes it, or it's for private use.
But there's no way,
Correct.
well, they'll pay their part, their specific part of not using it. If you put anything on property tax or anything else to pay this, they probably aren't gonna get.
Oh, no, I was just saying the private resident is responsible for taking and laying the pipe to it, and then the city assumes it.
Yeah, but if you have so many people put in, inch line in there, there's a limit to how many you can serve. And so we have to put in a 6-inch line. Then that comes into the city where that's going to get,
I understand. Okay.
that's going to get swallowed up. But there's most of the groups of people where you have 5 or so, or 5 or 10 houses on 1 meter or whatever, are in an area where they have access to a large diameter pipe. So it's not a thing. You can almost, when you look at this, you can almost tell where the salt plumes are coming from in North Roswell. I mean, you have very little of this stuff in South Roswell. So it's all that's when you draw down all the water in the south, that's what draws the salt in to the north, because that, it all kind of water goes downhill. So it's really hard to say. It would be nice if you could see how many gallons each one was using. I mean, I know the people out just north of the country club. I mean, their water is so bad. If they want to have grass, they have to use city water. And so there's other places that are like that, but that's probably one of the worst places. But everybody in the tree streets out there, the big water lines come down. Mm-hmm. And those big water lines that come down Country Club, everybody on the north side of the Country Club is almost all of them out there in Carolina and all that stuff are on city water. But they have wells for their other water. I would hate to use put something in where we use more commercial water out there, large quantities, because I think that gets to be in a different state, a different realm of what you're trying to help. If you're just trying to help people have their houses and people who live here and all that stuff, I don't think we want to necessarily get into a competition with commercial water.
No, but it's a capacity issue. It's not
capacity. That's right. And but yeah, when you have a big user, like if Walmart's a big user, I don't know who is, but if Walmart's a big user and you have people come in, everybody who's outside the city pays for that and the price of their products, whatever they buy from Walmart. So it's hard to tell who we're getting. And the schools, if the schools are out there and there's probably, I would hope that the schools drilled a well wherever they are to water their grass and stuff out there. I'd hope they did, but if they didn't, if they're using city water, it's going to be the water, grass and stuff would be extremely expensive.
Yep. Thank you.
I don't know if I helped you or not.
You did.
Yeah, I just have a couple. I'm actually kind of surprised by this, especially with the timing. So my first question is, as far as where did this request come from to look into this? Was it on the city side or the county side?
It came at the one meeting where we did the final approval on the rates. There were several citizens that came up and asked if we would look at it. My direction was to look at it and present it. Then it went to finance committee and they sent it here.
Okay. I actually do remember that. The fiscal, I'm not big on math or numbers, but I can see that if you're taking 2 million away from a part that's already short, that just makes us even shorter. So I kind of question the logic behind the timing on this, because also we're fixing to slap our city people, and to me it's kind of offensive to actually give the county a break when you're fixing to slap the city. So I actually would agree with Councilman Chapel that there's a time for this. I just don't think it's right now.
The one thing I'd like to draw your attention to, though, is on the outside rates for the residential and small commercial. A lot of those, the base rates, they're actually going to go down from what they are right now if we implement this.
If you implement.
If you implement the 125%, what they're paying now for their base rate, under the 125%, it would decrease.
Right.
So they would be paying less than what they are right now.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right time for us to give the county a break and not the city. That's just my personal, well, and will continue to be my personal.
Thank you, Counselor. As I read back in these minutes back to, I guess, 92, I look at this and when they talked about these rate increases, part of it was because the contaminants out on Wild Road, and if that was to be a temporary situation, but as they said, sales tax acted in 1932 had been temporary for 50 years. So, and then I look at this a little further, where it appears to me that Councilman Henninghausen was not in favor, because it said Lettingham moved to amend the motion in order to include council approval in the rates set, but seconded by Councilor Owen. Councilor Henninghausen, who made the motion, said he would not see any reason for doing this. And he voted no on that. And I look at Fred Henninghausen as one of the most respected water attorneys, and not just in New Mexico, but in the southeastern part of the country. And they said it looks like can be drawn out of this, I'm not sure, that this was to be a temporary. Well, temporary has gone on for 32 years. And I do feel it needs to be adjusted. These are regular customers. They're no different just because they live on one side of the street and don't vote in our elections, but they live in this community. They thrive in this community. They educate their children in this community. And for 32 years, they've been penalized with no basis or foundation at all. And Mr. Glenn has experience in other water systems in this around the United States and has never seen a 200% penalty. Correct?
Correct.
Most are 125%. So I'm in support of this because of that. It may be a difficult time, but it'll be a difficult time till it isn't a difficult time. And someday the tide will turn and it'll be okay. But to penalize these people, I know you're saying, well, they're county people. No, they're residents of the city of Roswell. It just happens to be where the line has been drawn. And I hear what the mayor says. A lot of these people don't have drinkable water from the water systems out there. They can't get Morindo water. Those meters are finished, as far as I understand. There's no more meters available. So what do we do? Continue to punish these people at 200% because on something that was supposed to be temporary? And here it is 32 years later. Yeah, I can't point fingers at the past, but here we are today. And I believe today we look and say, this has been wrong. And I take upon his expertise of handling more water systems in the city of Roswell and telling us nobody does 200%. No one. So that's all I have to say. Councilor Arnold?
No, I actually agree. 2% is actually horrible. What I'm saying is timing. I mean, I'm out in the public every day and I get a joke about how we're increasing water rates. And so I'm just saying it's about taking one thing at a time, because as Councilman Corn stated very well, we don't know what the money is going to look like. So we're making a lot of decisions, and we're piling it on top of each other. And I just don't think it's the right time. I think we should handle one of these at a time. And I did say at the end that I do think it's something that needs to be picked up, because it is not, 200% is absolutely not, I think, justified, especially for drinking water. But right now, we're already getting hit with the fact that we're increasing the city's rates while we're fixing to lower the counties. Perception is not hot.
Mr. Mayor.
You know, I think you have to look back at Roswell. You have to look back at the history of Roswell. When you sit there and say that, why is it Briar Ridge and the country club is more special to be in the city limits of Roswell than those tree streets out there by the pecans where the water lines run right down Country Club.
Nevada.
One side, we put 900 houses over there that is in the city limits, and the ones who were across the street aren't. And how is that fair? When you turn back around and you look at where those where those 900 houses, where do they go? Those 900 houses come all out and empty out onto Nevada Street to go straight right down that road. It's a little bitty county road. All their houses are close. They've got agriculture right next to them on the other side. And that street's not wide enough to take all those cars to go all the way down to from
Mescalero.
Country Club to Mescalero. And you go back out there and look about how we got Briar Ridge. You look how the Country Club got in there. And there was one little farm out there that was going to supposedly be the whole road right there next to the whole road out there going to the Country Club. But the people who owned it changed their mind about that being in the city of Roswell. So they left that out and just took the road out there. Just the road. The only thing in the city of Roswell is Country Club all the way out there. And then you can look going down Urton Road. That's just a little road, not everything on either side's out. And you go out here and you go out East Second for the water lines that go all the way out to the river and to the water treatment plant. Well, on parts of East Second, one side's in the city, but the other side's not. Yet the water lines went down the side that wasn't in the city proper. So all those people, every time they dig up a line to run a new line in there, tears up everything in front of their house, and they have to pay twice the rate to get the water than the people across the street. There's a lot of unfairness that happens in this stuff, and there's a lot that went on in Roswell. If you look about, you just go back and look and figure out in your own mind how the Country Club got annexed and how we got Briar Ridge. It's not tied to anything. There's not even a fire truck out there. And yet we took everything, every bit of that in. So you can't close your eyes to Roswell and the past things that have gone on about who's benefited by who was on this council and who passed things just to get them into the Country Club in there. And then so that they could go out there because they bought the land all around the Country Club. All the golf courses, all that around there, they bought all that and then they subdivided and made a low rent housing out of it. And that's exactly what happened. Like, come on. And so all of a sudden, Roswell picked up every one of those people out there with, on the other side of the golf course, the water's so bad you can't drink. Well, it'd be that bad, probably be real close to being that bad where Briar Ridge is. But because somebody wanted to have, their house on the golf course at the Country Club and have, didn't want to drink the same water that you had to drink at the Country Club because it's all brackish as brackish can be. And, because they didn't want to do that, wanted to have city water, so they annexed it all in. And it's probably a far greater sin what they did than it was for the government to leave us with the base. Because they bought all that land and subdivided it as soon as the city put services out there. That's exactly what happened. You probably remember. So, there's not a lot of room in here to sit down here and throw stones and say that you can't just do this to me because, we got here how we got here. And I think you need to look at it, and I think we ought to look at some of this stuff. We ought to look at it we ought to have something on how much each one of these users is, so you can identify if there's one person that's using an exorbitant amount of water, then figure out why and whether or not it's drinking water. I think we've started this. I think it'd be nice to see where it goes. I tell you, I know one of the kids on here that the reason he has a real high water bill is because he waters his yard. But the water out there on the north side of the country club is brackish. But if you're on the south side over there in Briar Ridge or in those other apartments, you get really good water and you can have your yard to look as beautiful as you want it. But because you went 500 feet the other way, they're not even 500 feet from the country club, I don't think, but you went 500 feet the other way, you know, you don't have any access to drinking water or even water to do your yard. But the people on Briar Ridge got whatever they want. And all because somebody got a little of that. You know, I don't know if it's a realtor, I don't know who did it. But you just have to look at it. There's a lot of things, but the people in the county have to put up with an awful lot. We got to fix the roads all the way out to that subdivision, you know, and we don't have any fire services out there. You got to fix 19th Street so you can get out to Urton Road. You know, it's just, so I don't think you should sit here and just turn it all down. I think you ought to sit down and look, get some history about how we got in this mess. And it's just like our water rates, because we're raising the water rates wasn't necessarily any of these people that are paying double the rates fault. Reason we're in this box is because some of our counselors didn't go through and keep it current and correct, or, you know, at an affordable rate all the way through this session. So, you know, that's some of the stuff you need to look at. It's not because these people that are getting 200% did anything wrong to the city. It's because the city council didn't take care of their business. In my opinion, that's what happened. And you know, we just have to look at this. I think there ought to be some happy medium where we can look at it and strike. If we have to wait and get more financial information about where to go, that's fine. I don't want to come in here and raise our rates. What we've already said is going to be what we think about 25%, give or take. Well, you know, all the Real Town, Roswell, or whatever says it's going to be 40%. The same people who screwed it up saying how bad it all is and tell everybody, get people all scared. They have a right to their opinion, yes. But they also have an obligation because they should be in the know and they should know the answer to those questions. And they just don't choose to say it, share it. But I really think we ought to sit down and look at this, look at the financial pictures and see what it does. How many big users are out there? I mean, I don't know. Is it, we have a business out on the road to the base that uses a lot of water, and they, you know, not a lot, but they use water in their process of making equipment. That's probably one of the most stellar and best run businesses as far as healthcare and stuff, paying all their employees healthcare and everything else for a long time. Been here for 40 or 50 years, and their water rates kill them. They can't even build a barn to put their product in because, you know, they don't have enough access to fire retardants in their building. Their product should never catch on fire unless somebody's arson. And so just looking at it, there's a lot of things. I think you ought to look at the money that it costs, and let's look at the big users, and so you can figure out why and see, you can give people a decent rate for livable water. It always helps if you believe in the state engineer. You're better off not poking holes into your own well system and in your own all your aquifers. You're better off not doing that. A bunch of times you're better to have one big hole and everybody sucking out of that big hole is a lot better because you get a lot better product and you have more control of your aquifer if you only have one hole in there instead of 500 holes. And, you know, it's just safer. You get better pipe and you get better cement jobs and everything else to control your aquifer and protect your aquifer. So, but anyway, that's
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Corn.
I've already spoke. If any of the council, committee members have something else.
I raised my hand, but they calling you.
Oh. Well, there's a lot of moving parts whenever you're looking at one of these things. And I can tell you that, you mentioned Briar Ridge, Mr. Mayor, that just up the hill at the Memory Lawn, I have some firsthand knowledge about the water there. I can grow grass if you water it at night. It'll turn white as this sheet of paper if you water it during the heat of the day. And there was 2 wells. I plugged one. And not as far from me to you, maybe a little more, there's a fire hydrant from the well that I plugged. So I have no personal memory about any of that stuff that went on out there. I saw it happen like you did. I don't know who was making those decisions, what those decisions were. And one of the narrow strips that we've got is Main Street going all the way out to the Air Center.
Right.
None of those, nobody, I don't know. In the maps that I looked at, I don't think any of those people are on the city water.
There's a few here and there.
Okay. So I don't know. I just think that today is not the day to make this decision. Because financially, if we'd considered this when we did the rate study, maybe it would have been included, maybe it wouldn't have, I don't know. But we spent a lot of time doing that, and I think this, and the other thing is, all these people, for the exception of whatever there was initially, knew the deal going in. May not be fair, but they knew the deal coming in. And they accepted the deal. And so they need to, I guess, suffer as much as our family is within the city limits for a while. I'm not opposed to looking at this down the road whenever we find out what the cash is really going to look like and all the work we've got to do with that money. So I'm just opposed to doing this at this time, and that's basically where I'm at. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Besa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, it sounds like Barindo Water Association, I guess that's what they're called, is very limited on the amount of customers that they can service. But have we gotten together with them to see if there's any intentions of extending their service at all?
So right now, they are under a moratorium from the state. They can't grow any bigger. The only way that they can bring somebody else onto the system is if somebody leaves the system.
Okay.
Cumberland, the co-op down south, is in the same boat. They've got a wait list, and unless somebody leaves, sells the meter, they can't add any more customers either.
Have we looked at how many of these individuals or these property owners are eligible to be annexed? And if they want to be annexed?
There's a couple that I've spoke to that said they wouldn't care. So, but that's something that they have to drive.
Well, the other thing, when you annex them in, then you have to put sewer in.
What?
You'll have to put sewer line in.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
It's gonna be a big cost to annex some of those folks inside. And like I just think, like the mayor said, you take Nevada, which is on that water system, and some of those homes back along on Country Club or on our water system, that you know, you got to be willing to take on. What are you going to do with Nevada? It's a gravel road now. What are you going to do?
But I think as far as annexing is concerned, that may be an incentive to get a lot of these individuals annexed into the city. Because we just approved the one right there on, by the cemetery, what's that road, Brusher Road? 10 acres or whatever it was.
Yes, that commercial piece of property there, yeah. And but he was willing to pay for the hookup, was it not, for the sewer system?
Yes.
Yeah, he was willing to pay for that, to do that.
Yeah, because I'm of the opinion that 200% is a lot. But at the same time, you know, going into the discussion, we knew that the effect it's going to have in the city residents as well as the county. And to say we are going to lower the county because of an injustice that happened back in 1932 or whatever, you're going to have the blowback. Why can't you do that to the city residents? Why can't the city residents be lowered instead of being, 20% instead of 40%? And when I argue that in my mind, that just doesn't seem fair to me. And so I think that maybe if we table this thing and look at the possibility of maybe 75%, maybe 50% instead of 100, 150% and 175% as opposed to 125%, and see what kind of effect it's going to have on our budget. Because if I understand the budget correctly, we're in a situation where we can't lose any more money. And so at this point in time, I don't believe that I would be able to support it either the way it is written. My suggestion would be to table it and go back to the drawing board and see what else we can come up with.
We're open to a motion to that effect. Mr. Mayor.
I happened to be when Johnny Jones and the stuff who worked for the city, when they started Barindo Water, I was on the county commission when we did it. And Barindo Water has stayed, it's chartered as a regular business and everything else. It's not a mutual domestic water supply. It's not any of the others that you can get a lot of grants to construct your water lines and bring them in and bring them around the city. And so they choose to only do the areas they have now. Originally, Barindo Water had fire plugs throughout the whole area that they serve around the city. Most of it was just on the north and the east side. And they had fire plugs and everything. Over the years, they've taken out all the fire plugs and they only have water lines that they serve to the people on the south and on the north and the east side. Then they put another tank in out here on top of the other hill and came down the west side and went all the way around the west side of the bypass, went over and went behind the base, on the sides of the base. It's all an economic underserved area that they could have got grants for, to do all that. But they brought it back over, and it's my understanding they did not hook back into the other water tank that they have that goes on the north and the east side. Had they done that, you could have, when you had East Grand Plains that didn't have water because Barindo was down, you could have backfed the system backwards. But they didn't do that because, they had to put the two lines together and they're probably a couple miles or a mile apart or something. But, that's what happens. And the board on Barindo Water is happy with the status quo because they have all the water they want. and they are not interested in adding anyone else around the city. And that creates a problem. And so, yes, there needs to be communications with that. But if they started the water system in Midway, what do you call the other one?
Cumberland.
Cumberland was down there, was started all service, all the people south of Roswell that couldn't get service on Berendo. And you can look at, if you look at annexing everybody, the sewer system is extremely difficult to annex and put all that back because of the cost. And then you turn back around and the water system is geared now for the way things are for Roswell now on our water system. So you have to be careful when you go outside with major users. And so you need to look at that. And I think that's something that it should be. At some point in time, Berendo water needs to be either replaced or gobbled up by somebody to continue to, for growth of Roswell. And it's worth being studied and everything else, but you just have, look, I can just tell you from in subdivisions or in places around Roswell, there are all kinds of places that, they'll have 3 or 4 houses on Berendo water and then nobody else, they'll all have their own wells. And that it just pokes more holes in your aquifer, which if you look at the Artesian Basin, there's a basin here, and then there's a layer of clay or whatever, a sealer on the top. Then there's another basin above that, which part of it is filled from the Artesian Basin goes up, and when it gets high, it goes up into the other aquifer from wells that were not properly cemented in. And that's one of the problems, and that's probably one of the things that Fred Henningham hasn't always knew about this, that there's some real problems with everybody poking holes in the aquifer. That's a real bad thing to do as far as if you look about control of the water and the safety of the water. So with that, but Berendo water was all, his name was Johnny Jones, and he was the guy that did all the work. Berendo has, one service crew, I think, to service all their stuff. And it's a mess. But when you look at, they're nice people, they do good, they fix things, but their system is, well, I was county commission in 75, so it's 49 years old. You figure it out if they've got any problems or not. But there are some issues.
Well, I will offer a motion to table this and get additional information. The information that I'm looking for is what's the cost at 175 and what's the cost at 150? What's the cost to the city? How much is the city going to be losing? And how much would that, the rates for county people, what would that look like?
Are you making a motion to table this item?
Yes.
Have a second?
And this is until until we get the data, correct?
Right.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to table item 6, which is an ordinance concerning to authorize for a public hearing dealing with Chapter 26. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Murdo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Got a question, Robert. I'm sorry, Mr. Glenn. The water line we ran from South Main to Mountain View Middle School, was that done by the city?
The city oversaw it. It was paid for by the school district.
Okay, so, and that's going to be water for Mountain View Middle School, correct?
Yes.
Now, they haven't tapped in. Are they waiting for the new building to be built, or what are they waiting on
I
that?
think there's been a couple of different issues out there. I'm not really sure. Can you speak more to that, or?
I can tell you what's been said, what I've heard, and I can tell you what's false and what's true. So city did run the water line, school district paid for the water line out of their American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds. They were contemplating building a new school. They didn't tap into that water line. I know what's been said in the community is that by tapping into that water line with their existing plumbing system, it would blow out their plumbing system. I can tell you that's not true. That could be as simple a fix as putting a reducer to the water in the building. So that is false. They haven't tapped into the water line at this point because they are contemplating constructing a new school, whether it's at that site or an alternative site. I think their school board about 2 weeks ago voted to keep the existing site for their project built.
Now, when they do tap in, they'll have to design sewer, right? Because they're on leach lines now. So
They can stay with what they
they
have.
can still stay with that? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a side note, so everybody knows, all these discussions and stuff that we've been having with the rate study and stuff like this, I'm putting all the notes together and then I'll give them to the clerk so she can attach them to this ordinance. So next time we have this discussion, we have some background. So we're not lost like we have been this time.
Or since 30,
Yes.
2 years ago.
I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
So I
I
have a
haven't
motion.
told her yet, so we'll see how it is.
You heard it.
Counselor?
Do we know when we're going to do a new study?
Hmm?
Do we know when we're going to get the new study, the
We're
timeline?
just going to postpone this until we decide to bring it back.
Table
Or table it, either one. So,
I can get the figures put together and get them out to everybody, and then you guys can decide what you want to do from there. That work?
I think just table until we're ready to talk about it again.
Okay.
Is what I'm hearing from the motion that was made. We'll just table it and move on. So I have a motion, I have a second, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Oh,
Motion carries 4-1. I'll let the record show Councilor Corn was opposed. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 7. It's a resolution considering the adoption to the removal of 5 additional dilapidated structures. Page 27 in the packet. All of the packet.
Behind you.
Oh, didn't see you, Toby. Toby Franco, please.
Thank you, Mr. 5 properties for condemnation. Of these 5 properties, 3 have changed ownership. First one, 107 with Matthews, one of the ones. This gentleman has came up to building officials. This property itself is burned. It's had a massive burn on the main house and then the structure in the back. He lives next door, so he's cleaning it up and he's gonna start working on it. 316 South Beach. The property owners that came in, talked to the building official also. And they did have a fire also on the side of the house. The property owners have secured it and they are gonna go pick up a permit to bring it back up to 315 East 7th Street. This is just a rear structure. All the structures in the back have burned. Right now, we have this property owner in the court, this is a mini court for the cleanup of the property. We went to court on his case last week, I believe, and the judge gave him 2 weeks to come in compliance. 113 South Elm Street, this property owner has pulled the permit and is working on it. And it's starting to look a little better than what the picture looks on the, this is from Chihuahua. The house right next to it, 113 South Elm and a half. Nobody, this is also a new owner, and we have had no contact with this person as a, stand for any questions.
Are any questions from any committee members? There being none, you have a motion.
So I do have a question, Mr. Chairman. So if we adopt this, and it sounds like a couple of the property owners are trying to get in compliance, how does that work?
Counselor, once they come into compliance, we take them off the list. It's easier to keep them on the list than it is it's easier to take them off than to put them on, I should say. It's just a fail safe in case they don't.
We've done that with other properties in the community. So, any further questions?
Mr. Chair, I'll just add that this did go through public safety, and they did recommend 4-0 listing on the consent agenda to the full council through the link.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Matthews. No further discussion. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we put on city council consent agenda recommending the adoption of resolution 24XX for the removal of 5 dilapidated structures.
Get a second?
Second.
Get a second by, who was first there? Councilor Chapel, second the item. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. So moved. Next item on our agenda is item number 8. Which is a memorandum of understanding for pooling of the opioid settlement funds. Counselor, are you taking this one?
I'll take it. I guess I'll go.
You need it.
He's just counsel.
Yeah, I'm just counsel.
Oh, he is in my world.
Mayor Pro Tem, this came to legal committee 2 months ago. The county, with suggestions, the county has suggested or has accepted all the suggestions. In particular, an advisory committee, subpart 2, will be composed of 5 members, 2 counselors, 2 county or 2 members at the county's discretion, so commissioners or whoever they want to send, and a 5th neutral to be decided between the 4. And this committee will advise on how to use the money. The money, we added in the language that you requested about having this fund administered consistent with the opioid settlement. You had asked for a slightly different verb. I made it broader just to throw it all in there.
Yeah.
Similarly, the city will be getting an annual accounting of all the fund's activities. And if you're unhappy with said accounting, we have a 60-day termination. So that's about it.
Any questions? Councilor Arndt?
No, I don't have a question. I'd like to make a couple statements. This is like 2 years of work to get this actually gathered together. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to say that there has actually been a group selected to do a blueprint, a nonprofit to actually create a look of kind of matching what other areas are doing. This opioid funding can actually do a whole lot for the community, several different areas. Also, there is to be a program director hired out of this, and that is actually the biggest move forward because that is what's going to get the ball rolling, is having someone direct all that. I just wanted to kind of note that the city and the county have been coming together for months now, and this is one of the first steps. So I really appreciate you guys working to get it on here.
Any other further comments, questions? Motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that we send this on to.
Need to go anywhere?
No.
No, yes, so Mr. Chair, because the financing provision would be part of a budgetary amendment. The MOU simply allows the finance committee to pass the resolution to transfer the funds that we have. So this is independent of finance committee's obligation.
Yeah. And so with that understanding, Mr. Chair, I move that we, so this needs to go just to city council. We move, recommend approval memorandum of understanding M24-0 on the opioid settlement.
Regular agenda or consent?
Okay, let my second decide that.
Nobody seconded it. Second to consent.
Second to consent.
Yes, sir.
It just died for lack of a second.
Yeah. Could have just went away. So we have a
I'm getting
motion
chastised
and a
back there.
second for the memorandum of understanding for the pooling of opioid settlement funds to be placed on consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so moved. Next item on the agenda is item number 9, which is RFP 24-010, which is the threat and hazard identification risk assessment, and consider recommending the award for RFP 2410. Ms. Sanders,
Thank
that was a lot to say.
Chair. FEMA requires in order for us to be eligible for the grant, so that's why. So we went out, background, we went out to RFP back in March. We received 5 proposals and we reviewed those committee, and it was their recommendation to qualify and award this contract to Jensen and Hughes Incorporated. The funding for this is in approved amending FY25 budget, so whatever doesn't get spent before first will move over in budget. So, and the county also does reimburse 50%, and they're aware of that and put that in their budget. And it did go through public safety. It was 5-0 to go on the consent agenda of the city council through legal committee. Stand for any questions?
And Mr. Chair, if I could throw out there, Ms. Sanders has done an excellent job of keeping the actual amount of the grant under her hat in relative to the RFP process, the competitive RFP process.
So you're able to get this done for less than the grant amount. Well, that's always nice to know. Yeah, she's been at this for a day or two.
She did a great
Very
job.
good at it.
Go on it.
Yeah. Are there any questions of Ms. Sanders? So can we get a motion?
BT.
Mr. Chair, wait a minute, I made the last motion.
Yeah. I'm looking at,
Make a motion to send RFP 24-0-10 threat assessment hazard identification risk assessment. Consider recommending the award RFP 24-010 threat hazard identification risk hazard stakeholder preparedness review and the city manager enter the contract with Jason Hughes to consent agenda.
I'll second it. He's got every name in the list.
Can you get that extra pay for committee? Yeah. Yeah. So I have a motion and a second. Place this item RFP 24-010, the consent agenda for the next council meeting. Any further discussion? Being none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so moved. Thank you, Ms. Sanders. It's always a pleasure to see you. And you know, as I say, you always make Magic Mike Matthews look better when you're sitting next to him. Oh, why he wasn't sitting next to you today? Yeah, yes.
Is that when you wear a hat?
Yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 10. It's page 40 in your packet if you're following. It's the ordinance amending chapter 14 of affordable housing in the Roswell City Code to consider recommending approval to authorize to advertise for a public hearing. Ms. Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. As you mentioned, this is action requested to consider recommending approval of authorize to advertise for public hearing for the proposed ordinance amending chapter 14 of the Roswell City Code related to affordable housing. The background on this is that we got new language from New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. So that language is reflected in the change. What it really changes is the annual gross income between 80% and 150%. The previous was 100%. That's going up to 150 of the area medium income. So that is the major change there. And there is no financial obligation to the city. The city attorney has reviewed the proposed ordinance. And this is the first consideration with this committee.
Any questions? Just a housekeeping item, basically. Puts us in compliance with the state. So if I could get a motion, hopefully on the consent agenda.
Consent.
Consider.
Because this is going to, for a hearing?
Yeah, I can't do it.
Well,
Like,
you can to propose the hearing, just not for the hearing itself.
yeah.
Okay.
The hearing doesn't go on consent, but we can move it to the consent agenda to advertise for it, according to our council.
Council. It's complicated.
All on the learning part.
Yeah. So, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to send ordinance 24-XX amending chapter 14 affordable housing of Roswell City Code to the consent agenda.
Motion, do I have a second?
Good.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to place upon the consent agenda, authorized for a public hearing for proposed ordinance amending chapter 14 of the Roswell City Code related to affordable housing definitions. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so item number 11 is we're wrapping up. Yes. RFP 24-008, considering recommending the rejection of one proposal of visitor management services. Todd, is that you today?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you. So today, consider approval to reject the one proposal received for RFP 24-008. This was our second posting for Visitor Center Management Services. We put it out once and ran it, didn't have any takers. So we got a little bit more aggressive on the second round, ran it again. They did get one proposal back. And that was back in March 2024. The first proposal was received, and then we did it again in April. The evaluation committee did recommend rejection of the proposal. There's no financial consideration. Legal is the first to hear about this. And so again, with that, please consider rejecting RFP 24-008, second posting of Visitor Center Management Services. And I stand for questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
We're the ones who's, the Roswell Spinal Chamber is the ones who put in the RFP for that. So if we don't mind getting why we, the rejection so that we can resubmit.
Okay. I believe, a little fuzzy on the details of what I can release.
So, yeah, what you would do.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on the details of what I can
Once
release.
it is, it'll be a final decision. And so once council makes the final decision, then you can get all the documents, show the analysis.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, good.
Somehow these RFPs are in secrecy. Yeah. So That satisfy you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any other questions? Can receive a motion, please?
Go ahead. You're doing good. No. I'm trying to learn, so I'll learn for you.
Go ahead. I'm trying.
Yes.
You know when we do it.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, RFP 24-008, considered recommending the rejection of one proposal received for RFP 24-008, Visitor Center Management Service.
Second.
Will that go to consent? Will that go to consent?
Can I go to the consent there? Yeah, you can go to the consent, we'll put it place on the consent agenda.
Put a consent agenda?
I'm asking, I'm not telling you.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye, consent.
Are you okay with that, Counselor? So.
Sure.
We have a motion and a second to place on the consent agenda the rejection of the proposal for RFP 24-0, which is the Visitor Center Management Services. All those. Counselor?
Can we have further discussion?
Sure. I mean, haven't called for the
A
vote.
little fuzzy, and I know what Hess has said about the details, but I think before I can vote, I would like to know the basis of the denial, whether it's procedural or it's something else.
The easiest way to do that can be disclosed, a closed session. Counselors can hear it whenever they want.
Right.
I mean, truthfully, you're the only one who's involved, so if you guys don't care, nobody's.
We don't, it's our first one. We'll resubmit if we need, unless we're not qualified. If we're not qualified, we waste everybody's time. So
If the applicant's kind of waiving their confidentiality now, there's no concern.
yeah,
So, based on, I'll just disclose this, and just based on the general scores, it simply did not score high enough. There was a lot of missing information. There could have been more detail there. So the decisions that the scoring committee had to make were based only on the information provided. So it simply did not score well enough for a recommendation.
recommendation as far as from the board?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect.
And so, Mr. Chair, this went out twice, and because we only had one application that's being rejected, the city doesn't actually have to go out for RFP next time. It can privately negotiate. So yeah, if that's something moving forward, you have a contract you got to worry about first. But
right.
Anybody who wants to think about it can approach Mayor, Chad. We've done our procurement copaesthetics.
Okay. That satisfy you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion? So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so moved. Next item on the agenda. Pardon?
The second.
Councilor Corn.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the professional service agreement recommending approval of the Main Street Roswell request for funding and the amended professional service agreement to the Finance Committee and the amount of $75,000. Mr. Collier. Okay.
Should we please consider approval to reject?
No, she didn't present a.
She didn't. Consider recommending approval of Main Street Roswell request for funding of the amendment professional services agreement to the Finance Committee in the amount of $75,000. We do have Main Street Roswell here to present on the behalf. Have one. She didn't split it on PSA. All I have is what she had me.
Oh, I have. Oh, no,
It's in the packet. It's in the packet. It's in the packet.
Thank you, Chairman Hildebrand. Members, what we submitted to you guys was, of course, the abstract that included updates to the legal part of our PSA. A lot of it that we updated was mainly language. There really wasn't a lot of huge changes. The two big changes that you will find in the agreement had to do with the UFO festival. We really felt like pulling the UFO festival out of our PSA completely needed to just be it's something that needs to be done. If in the future we do something else with the UFO, it could be possibly maybe an amendment to our agreement, and that would be separate than this PSA. And the other change, the request that we made had to do with our funding, and that's included pages. I have to look for it really quick, but what we would like to request is we would like to request that the 25% that was removed from us during this year, it happened a few months back, that it be reinstated, bringing back our funding back to 60,000. During that same meeting that our funding was reduced by 25%, we actually had come to that meeting to request an additional 15,000 to bring our funding from the city to 75,000. That funding was repeated to be able to actually do the work that we've been assigned to do for the city of Roswell. Part of it has to do with development. It has to do with helping our stakeholders in the district by providing some assistance with new businesses. So there's just really not enough funding that we have right now on our own. What we plan to do this coming year, which is on our plan for this coming year and this current year also, is to start more fundraising. We have created a committee that includes the economic development department to help us look at some fundraising options. Our goal is not to have to depend on the city for everything, but to try to raise our own money as well. But at this time, that's what we are requesting. Do you have any questions about the PSA or any? I sent everything over to be reviewed by Mr. Hess and also by you.
No, you have a question?
I just want, I mean, this goes back.
That's right. We're agreeing to the form and content.
I understand.
But it has money attached to it, so which it means it then goes to finance for final monetary approval. I think what we're really looking at here is form and content today, and then moving it along is what I feel we're at, unless you have some other view.
No, so I'm on board.
Okay.
My question is, has anybody looked at their obligation as far as an audit's concerned? Where's that?
That's in here that we can call for an audit, we can call for a review, and we can call for nothing. So we have three options that are available to us in this agreement.
I think they're due right now to close out last year.
Well, I'm going to ask that we have not seen financial statements for some period of time, that before you pass judgment on that we ought to at least get a look at what they're presenting that they've done on the financial side of things. We haven't seen anything. I don't know the last time we've seen anything. And
too long.
I'm going to guess a year.
Been longer than that.
It's been a long time since we've seen any financial.
If you don't mind, the last time I submitted anything, to you guys, it was sent on to, of course, my liaison that I had.
Right.
That was no longer here. Then it was sent on to the city manager. And then most recently, all of that information was sent to TJ as she's been assigned as my new liaison.
Right.
So I've kind of been battle liaison. My reports have been submitted. My financials have been submitted. How they get to you, I am not sure, but I'm happy to submit whatever financials you like.
Mr. Cole, could you find out where those financials are? Because no one on this council has seen those at all. Have you seen any financials from any of the organizations?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to point out that since she claims that she's been doing it as regular order of business, then it shouldn't be a problem to have it for the finance committee.
Right.
And I'm happy to
Yes, sir.
resubmit whatever they don't have, because I know there's been a lot of changes in regards to who I send everything to. So it's been kind of confusing as to who to send my reports to, my quarterly reports to, that kind of thing. But my quarterly report actually consists of about 6 attachments along with lots of extra.
Whatever you got.
Yeah, we can attach. Mr. Cole can get those for us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are financials and we can provide anything else you'd like from us.
What I need to know.
Request from Mr. Cole to supply those to, and make sure that we have it, or you have it before your finance committee meeting. Would be very beneficial if I were, would say, knowing the chairman of that committee very well.
Let me know if there's anything missing.
Let me ask you this. Are you satisfied with the content of this contract?
I am satisfied. We went over it with the board of directors. I sent it on to New Mexico Main Street. They had no issue with it. So, like I said, the only big changes you'll notice that I redlined it out of there has to do with the UFO festival.
Right.
I mean, because that had been kind of a contentious point for a while. And we just really want it gone. I mean, we just really want to move forward in a positive way. We don't feel that bringing up the UFO constantly is going to do anything positive for any of us.
Right.
And if in fact you're satisfied with what we've done with the UFO Festival this year and you would like us to do it again next year, then that would end up being something that would be either a new agreement or an addendum to our current agreement, rather than being part of this content that involves all of our scope of services and compensation and other items of importance.
Chairman, if I might.
Please.
That's an interesting idea. Mr. Cole, we're on the front edge of the UFO festival for this year. Kind of you got either one. What's kind of the path for this going forward? We're not in the entertainment business in the city of Roswell. I would assume that we would have to go through some kind of fee process.
You want me to?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Corn. So Chad recently signed off on a new lodger's tax administrative policy for how the lodger's tax board will deal forward items. So we've split projects or events into 3 categories of possible funding mechanism, again, at council discretion. The first is pure advertising. The second is security and sanitation, which is asking for support there, but it's the funds stay internal to the city. And the final form is a sponsorship or purchasing advertising from the event. The advertising has to be spent on advertising. And the final form, sponsorship, is where the city wants to allow for lodger's tax funds to be expended on things outside of advertising. By way of example, let's say we have the biggest air show in the country, and we wanted to have some piece of infrastructure put in. The group could apply for sponsorship funding, and then because it's city property, the city can pay for some piece of infrastructure through lodger's tax money, and it doesn't become an anti-donation issue. And so those are the 3 funding mechanisms, and what the administrative plan is to have something RFP-like, but not an actual RFP, because advertising money is exempt from RFPs, and the sponsorships are actually, at least 2 other city attorneys agree with me that sponsorships are outside of the scope of procurement also, because you're purchasing an event or you're co-hosting an event through the sponsorship. And so what you would do is we'd have a month-long period for people to say what their events are, how they're tourist related, how much money it would cost, which of the 3 funding pools they'd like to receive money from. This will go to the occupancy tax board. They'll rate everything per an RFP style, and then it will go to legal, then to finance, then to council. So ideally we'd have, and because we're breaking it into separate pools, the compliance is not going to be as burdensome on the city or the applicant. And we can also give advertising money up front, again, because it's not subject to procurement.
And the other two communities utilizing this?
Yeah, so this method is Farmington. Farmington's done sponsorships before. Santa Fe does something similar to this, and they have more lodgers tax money than they could ever spend. But the particular RFP model is taken from Hobbs.
Okay, thank you.
Answer your question.
Wait and see.
See who applies for money.
Chairman, if I may ask a
Yes.
question about the lodgers tax process that you're working on. Because currently, the way Main Street Roswell, we're in charge very much of the UFO Festival this year with the help of Juliana Halverson. And I have spent the last 5 months, pretty much 98% of my time has been spent on working on the UFO Festival. We're not getting any funding to do this, you know what I'm saying? It's just, we're doing it. And we're using lodgers tax funding, which is great that we're able to do that. But that doesn't call into effect the amount of time that is spent putting together this event. So I don't know if the RFP that you're going to put together, obviously the three things you talked about, which was the advertisement, the sanitation, and the sponsorship, those are all great. But none of that money is going to be given to whoever's running the event. It's going to be going directly towards the event. And so that's why I'm trying.
Left out security.
No, security and sanitation. Yeah, security and sanitation, and then the sponsorship. And I mean, we're grateful for that. I mean, it really relieves our issues, as far as, signing up people and getting people in place. But it doesn't, like I said, call into the fact that I spend, 98% of my time for 5 months now working on this event because I'm only one employee with the board. So in order to do this job really well, we really could use more help or funding of whoever's going to do this. I mean, back in whatever it was 3 years ago, the city hired somebody and brought somebody in and paid them whatever it was, $30,000 or $40,000 to oversee this event. And this year, there isn't that kind of money. All there is lodgers tax and Main Street doing it. And we were happy to take it on, but at the same time, that leaves us dropping balls for what is, pretty much what we should be doing, which is revitalizing the community, doing some economic development projects. And it's not that I don't want to do it, don't get me wrong. It's been really an interesting, hard job for the last 5 months because I don't have 5 employees like the city had whenever they were doing it. We have me, 1 employee, and that's it. So I just want you to keep that in mind when you're talking about the RFP. And again, in the proposed amount, and I know it's going to finance for that, but in that proposed amount might include possibly, the assistance of a part-time person to help, to get our projects off the ground. I mean, we do have a couple of projects already that we filled out grants for, received funding for them, and you're going to be seeing one of them coming up pretty soon. We've been working with the city engineering department, and you'll be seeing the two gateways going up and other wayfinding things going up. Our relationship with the county is also fantastic. We have already started that, the plaza that's going to be coming up in June will be the groundbreaking. I'm sorry, in July will be the groundbreaking for that plaza. And we are working with the county on that as well. And that was that $2.1 million project for that plaza. So I'm saying we're working. It's just kind of hard right now until after this event is over to actually get our feet back on the ground and get running. So anyway, I stand for questions if you have any.
Councilor Oropesa.
Hey, Mr. Chair, the $75,000, that's just money for Main Street Roswell.
That's correct.
To oversee and
Yes.
coordinate the event.
Main Street, no, it's not for an event specifically at all. It's not actually for an event at all. What that is for is if you look at your agreement, there's a section of it that's called scope of services, and it outlines what our job is to be. But basically, the state of New Mexico Economic Development Department, Main Street, New Mexico, and Main Street Roswell, what we seek to do is to increase the number of jobs and businesses on Main Street receive to sustain and expand existing businesses to help mitigate commercial leakage. And by that, we want to keep people on Main Street. We don't want them to come for a little bit and then leave and go somewhere else. I mean, that's part of our job, support local entrepreneurs and startups, improve property values within the traditional district, commercial district. And so that's what we hope to do. Events are things that we do to help fund ourselves.
So you, Main Street Roswell is the one that's heading the UFO festival?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're not charging the city for
No,
that service?
No, we're getting no payment for that. The only thing we're doing is getting lodger's tax funding towards the event, but it is a city event. It is a
Because
city.
I'm sorry, because in years past, I mean, it seems like everybody that has done that has done it for a price. And
So
which dictates what kind of entertainment and vendors and what have you can come provide.
Fantastic. I mean, I think we're doing a great job considering that we have a handful of people we're working with. We were directed by I don't even know who did the meeting. I don't remember who put together that meeting, but we were directed by the group that chose us to do it, that we work with other local organizations. So we're working with the UFO Museum. We're working, of course, with Juliana Halverson, city councilor. We're working with the Roswell Daily Record. We're working with other organizations here in town to put this thing together. But 98%, I would say 97% of what's happening during the UFO is happening on the Main Street, in the Main Street district. So therefore, I am taking over the responsibility of making sure that we have sound and music and that we have vendors. Currently, I have approximately 27 vendors. I'm talking about just regular tent vendors, and approximately 20 to 25 food vendors already signed up. And they're coming in like wildfire now that they know they have a month to get everything done.
And since you said that you have been working for the last 5 months, 6 months, do you have a dollar amount that you're going to go to lodger's tax to request?
Yes. We were given an amount, I think we were given 100,000 of lodger's tax.
Sorry, I'm going to step in. Okay, so there's a consortium that got together to run Main Street. Now, I haven't shown up to the meetings in a while, but it's made up of over 20 groups, is my understanding. And if Main Street's carrying the heavy pail, that was Main Street's decision, not the city's. The city has given a $60,000 sponsorship to the Alien Festival. The Alien Festival is owned by Main Street, and all the proceeds of the Alien Festival go to Main Street. So all those vendors, who takes the cut, the city or Main Street?
Main Street does, but okay, but wait, but the 60,000 that you're talking about, though, we were instructed that was to be used for any event. So that 60,000 has already been divided and used up. None of that money, I'm saying that was used towards all the other people involved with this.
Right, so the
event.
People showing up to the event expect entertainment, they expect sanitation, they expect goodies. And the city has paid $60,000 for Alien Fest's portion of that. And in return, Alien Fests has been charging the vendors in the street and then gets to profit from that, correct?
Correct.
Alien Fest meaning the UFO?
No, so the UFO Festival,
different.
The Alien, so there's two different, UFO Festival is the umbrella organization of a bunch of different events that happen on the same weekend. Alien Festival is Main Street's, what's it called? The Incident, I believe is the date, RDR's Galacticon. And what does the museum want? They call themselves something too. Is the UFO Museum also has a certain event. So historically, the city, or the past few years before we tried it this way, was internal to the city. And there was a lot of friction because the city's decisions weren't necessarily representative of all the umbrella groups that truly made up the festival. So what we opted into this time, the group came, Ms. Gomez presented a budget. The city has provided that budget after the finance committee gave its blessing through various procurement mechanisms.
Okay, I want to clarify one other point.
Yes, sir.
UFO Festival is not a Roswell event. It's an event that happens.
UFO Festival was the city's portion of that.
Yeah, so
they were the alien. Main Street Roswell is the Alien Fest. The city owns those trademarks, do they not, to the UFO Festival?
UFO Festival, yep.
City owns those.
Yeah, the trademark is
so
our whole asset.
And if the UFO, or what are you calling this event? Are you calling it the UFO Festival?
So there's,
Yes.
So for part of the sponsorship agreement required that everything Alien Fest be co-branded as Alien Festival or UFO Festival.
Okay.
So,
but it's still an event that happens in Roswell. It's not a city event.
Correct.
We're not putting it on. We made that decision early on in the year.
Correct.
And the city of Roswell is no longer an entertainment business.
We're sponsoring it through lodger's tax.
That's right. We'll support, i.e. back in the day, we had Hike It and Spike It. There's a Hike It and Spike It event that happened to be located within the confines of the city of Roswell. And the city of Roswell supported that, I think, because that was before they went away. But I think we supported them in some manner. And besides the sponsorship, we're also in agreement, as I understand it, with taking care of the hauling the trash to the dump and the security. And other than that, it's somebody else's little show. And I guess we're going to donate to use of property as well as if they meet the minimum requirements on liability insurance.
yeah, so I would say that the city isn't paying Main Street anything to run the UFO Festival because Main Street isn't running the UFO Festival. Main Street got $60,000 to supplement its own Alien Fest to co-brand it as UFO Festival.
Thank you. I think it's cleared up, at least in my mind.
If I may, sir, yes, a check was made out to Main Street, but it was to be used with any organization that needed help towards the event. It wasn't like something that went into our own pocket or into our own.
Complicated.
It's complicated. Yeah, it is complicated.
Mr. Chair, if I can, why do we put shall instead of may wish to? I agree with the communicate, even if we want to put collaborate or even collaboration, why do we put shall instead of may wish to? Because shall kind of means that we're binded to.
I just feel like it's a good obligation for all of us to have to try the best we can to communicate. If may works better for you, I'm fine to change it to may or shall.
Well, shall has you shall do this. May you may or you may not. I don't agree with a governing body being subservient to a nonprofit. And that's just my personal. It could be with anyone. The historic site could be with anyone, but the shall. I'm just opening up for conversations to Mr. Heinzman if he's a legal expert.
So it's legally sufficient. I 100% agree that may is always better than shall in a contract when it binds us.
Unless there was anything in the past that maybe there's an incident in the past or several incidents in the past where we may need this. Do you have any examples? I mean, I could be completely in the wrong too.
Recently, there were issues in the past. I don't think that we have issues with communication now. I think we're doing fine. I have a good access to Mr. Hess or even TJ or anyone, or even you all, city councilors. I have access to all of you. Louis Nahar or anyone that I need to speak to. I think there were issues with communication in the past. And so maybe that's kind of why they wanted to change it from may to shall. But that's why this was for you to review and make your changes as you like. There's really no huge, I feel, big changes.
This page. Yep, in subsection 8.
So I do understand even with shall reading a little bit further into this when I was at home, you guys are still holding yourselves the same a standard of conduct and the RFP procedure or whatever that was set by the city. So I understand you'd still be bound to that. And then the other question is why everything was struck out up here as far as your revenue share goes, as far as intellectual rights, sales and merchandise, and everything else.
I'm sorry, please.
I'm sorry, page 50 right here. The UFO Festival Merchandise Roswell still choose to do so may purchase or license additional entry brand of Roswell. Why would you guys not want to do that? I'm just curious as a person from personal standpoint. I'm sorry, right below. Right there.
I can speak to this one. Okay. So that whole subsection 7 was something, 7, that part 8 that was struck out, right? That was something that the previous community development director put in, and there was a lot of kind of argument about that. That whole section to me is superfluous. And typically when it comes to sales and merchandising with our logos, they have separate licensing agreement with us that covers already.
Okay. Perfect. I was just curious, but I'm sorry. I didn't want to shortchange it all. I do want, or I will make a motion to take shall out and put may.
Sorry.
On page 50, section 8.
Page 5 of the agreement.
Yeah, number. Yes.
We have a motion and a second to amend the agreement, page 5 of the agreement, city-sponsored events, to strike the word shall and replace it with the city may wish to coordinate.
No,
Or the city may coordinate.
City may coordinate, cooperate, and communicate.
So so strike the word shall and replace it with the word may.
Correct.
Would that be legally sufficient?
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Councilor Chapel, second by Councilor Corn to amend this agreement. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Being. Now we move on to approving or moving this agreement as amended
To
Finance Committee.
Make a motion to professional service agreement, consider recommending approval from the Main Street Roswell request funding and amended professional service agreement and Finance Committee amount of $75,000 as amended to the Finance Committee.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Chapel, second by Councilor Manuho to move this item to the Finance Committee as amended. Any further discussion? Being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Being none. Next item on the agenda is item 13, which is the amended Business Retention and Development Services Agreement and funding for the Roswell Hispano Chamber of Commerce to send it to the Finance Committee in the amount of $50,000.
Ooh, that's us.
That's you.
Thank you.
Been waiting here patiently.
Recommending approval of Roswell Fellowship Church, in the amount of 50,000, and this time is here presenting to.
I do want to give you guys an update where we're at. Thank goodness. Last time we met, we were just, didn't have the contract. We have the contract. We're ready to move forward. Just a lot working with Mr. Hess, CJ, and the team, right? To get this going. Couple quick developments. Still in an audit. The auditor's going back. We had to change the bank accounts, got access to all of them. Now we have the auditor that is hopefully next couple weeks, we'll have a full scale breakdown. We're doing okay. I am now the interim president of the Roswell Hispano Chamber for temporary time until we get a little bit more organized on my side. But we're moving forward. We're doing great. Board members are coming up September, October. We're requesting the 50,000 as we did last contract. There's several reasons why. We have our committees ready to go. Cinco de Mayo next year will be twice as big. Got Piñata Fest, Dia de los Muertos coming up. And then we have a lot of educational stuff coming up. We're part of the 3CPO with the ENMUR, working that right now, teaching classes. We have 4 seminars we're structuring now, trying to figure out a date to educate our members and community members on certain topics. Outside of that, we're moving slowly. I asked for leniency on our budget, not the budget, but the finances. It's coming, and we'll be transparent once it's done. We will propose that. We will send it to everybody who needs to see it. Outside of that, we're open for questions. If you have questions, thank you, Chair and Councilman. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything?
Yeah, I do have a question. When I look at your agreement, which is page 1, which is on page 75, we seem to have a lot of people in this community providing services to the city for business retention and development. We've got the EDC, we got Main Street Roswell, and we got the Hispanic. I'm not picking on you, I'm just making a general statement. Why do we have so many people doing the same thing?
So, good question. I asked.
Because are we stepping on each other's toes, or what are we doing?
So I asked that question to a couple of people that are part of different organizations throughout Roswell. And we had our meet and greet on Thursday with the Roswell Chamber. So we had that discussion. And so I think there's different cultural differences of mental processes, right? The way they think. So each business, we're going after the membership from the Hispanic side, the Hispano Chamber is. And so I talked to Mrs. Moore, they're going after the other one. So we're kind of not stepping on each other's toes with the Roswell Chamber. But we do want to provide the Hispanic community with different levels of education. Now, we'll invite everybody, but we are going to concentrate on that from the retention and development. They used to hold tardeadas, the after hours, right? Hadn't seen that in a long time. That's to promote the Hispano business or those that are coming up. We're going back to the tardeadas. Okay, we're also doing lunch with our business, different concepts than what each of the organizations are doing. But I will tell you right now, I'm not one of those kind of guys, and neither is our team, to saying we are just one entity. We will work with all of the other organizations, once because we know a lot of people that are on them and we're friends. So we will watch that a little bit. And I don't think we're stepping on anybody's toes yet. And we'll see if that happens or not.
I know 3 of the members of that group, you're going to step on people's toes. Yeah, because if they're going to stand in the way, you're going to step on them and move ahead. I just know that. But I just see that as what we're trying to do here as a city. What are we doing? And I think that's a very good answer. Thank you for that. Counselor?
Mr. Chair, and my experience when I was there, that a lot of our members were members of the chamber as well, the Roswell Chamber. And so you've got businesses that are willing to support both entities, as well as the Economic Development Corporation. A lot of those members are members of the chamber and also of the Roswell Chamber. Not all of them, but there's quite a few of them. And so, and like Adam said, one of the things of the Roswell Chamber is to concentrate more on the Hispanic side of businesses. Because some of those Hispanic businesses, some of them don't even talk English or understand English. And so, those are the ones that we can go in there and kind of discuss and try to convince to become members of the Hispano Chamber and what the benefits are, and even try to alert them that there also is another chamber that they can go and hopefully can become members of. So I don't think it's a matter of stepping on toes or anything like that. I think the community has enough businesses that they are willing to support both of them.
Yeah, I just want to, what's the mission of the city is really that question was aimed at. What is the mission of the city to do? And are we duplicating? Make sure we're not duplicating, that we are providing at different avenues, cultural, whatever you may choose them to be, that we're working in helping those businesses as well And you know, we don't, the regular chamber, the chamber does not receive funding from us. They haven't for the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm fine with that. I'm not inviting them to come and ask for funding. But I think part of it has been is, I'll just tell you in the past, I don't think there was much going on. That was for the development of members and educating, because we would ask, what are you doing during COVID to help your members to receive employee retention credit that they would not find it from anywhere else? Cricket.
So legally,
And so,
confirm or deny that statement?
but
You know where we're standing.
but that was a question. What are you doing for your members? Because that's what we're asking you to do. And what are you doing? And it was, again, correct me if I'm wrong, crickets.
No, you're absolutely right.
And so those are the kind of things that we have to see. There's got to be an exchange takes place for funding for you to provide a service. And I don't feel that we were getting, this community was not getting anything beyond a couple of things,
yes,
shall I say.
Hence why I'm here for a little while, to try to get them back on track. But the scope of work, we actually broke it down. We really logically thought and strategically thought about our scope of work, because this is the direction we're going. So if you actually see in Exhibit A and on forward, you'll see the scope of work of where our intention is. Now, this isn't the full thing. This is for the city on the scope of work you're requesting. But we're also writing right now, in the process of writing a strategic plan, our 3 to 5 year strategic plan. You get past that 3rd year, stuff changes, but we need that direction. And so this is part of that strategic plan as we move forward. And I have to tell you, we're a long ways from where it was a month and a half ago. And so, and I think most those that were here last time saw the book of where we were at. So we're just asking again, going back to the 4-year contract, and we will be transparent. Alfredo.
Have you been out of sun long today?
Yeah. He is our interim vice president until we do elections. And the reason for that was because of financial and banking issues that we identified. So I needed him to have access to all the banking. We've corrected all that. Okay, Alfredo. So we're moving in the right direction. Just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just telling.
So any questions? I mean, we're pretty transparent. We have a long ways to go. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but we are on the right track. We got good committee members, and of course, we're always looking for volunteers and who wants to be on our board to help us be successful. So yeah, please reach out.
Mr. Chairman.
Just a couple questions about the scope of work and some of the exhibits. Exhibit A on page 85. You guys earlier said that you guys were going to be for business growth, retention, and expansion. But the growth of business and business is both crossed out. Membership to retention development, section A, business and growth of business are both crossed out there. I don't know if we can add, or I'm sorry, is your nonprofit, you guys can do whatever you want, just sounds kind of.
So what we did was we wrote up kind of our strategic goals and plans and sent it for legal writing. And I think legal, did you guys write this? Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I wrote up a lot of it, but not sure how we did this. I think it was probably one of our members with.
I think it was Mr. Arard.
Yeah. Yes. So we can adjust the verbiage, however, we just thought it was more appropriate to verbiage it. Is that a right word? To verbiage it?
I got you.
To word it in that sense. But we can adjust anything. I mean, this is last time we didn't have a contract, so we're moving on to finance, right? And so however we need to structure it is good with us.
And then for Exhibit C, Exhibit B metrics, page 89, Exhibit C 90. The city will allocate funds each year used by membership growth and retention, professional enhancement, and education purposes. That goes on to Spanish Chamber and so on. And then on page 89, number 2, quarterly, reports to city. I would actually like to see the professional leadership opportunities, just because I think that we do need more Hispanics in leadership opportunities. If we're going to fund it, I think that we should get a report on it.
Okay, we can do that. So on C, I don't think it was written on this. It has A, B. I believe C is on the same line. Should have been hit enter to put it down, but in C it says professional leadership opportunities. Did you see that? It's a kind of a.
You-
It's on page 89. See right here, it says C, versus on the same line. Same line as B. 89 to B.
Official. Yep, I'm sorry, yep.
It's on C.
Sorry.
Yes.
I will continue reading before I say.
Hey, that's my fault. That's our fault.
No, that's the only one, then, not the first one, the growth of this, because I understand growing membership and everything else is very, very important, especially if it's to the survivability of any organization. But if we're preaching growth and business retention, expansion, everything else, I think it's kind of, not fishy, that's not the right word, that's the only word that's coming to my mind. That's not the right word, because I support everything you guys are doing.
Sure.
Moving forward. It doesn't seem right.
Yeah, again, even if it's not on here, you tell us what you want, we're gonna do it.
Oh, no, it's your organization. No, I don't want to do that.
No, honestly, we're not.
We're for the growth of Hispano businesses and organizations. This just says we're for the growth of our membership of the Hispano Chamber.
Well, that's because we talked about that. Professional growth of the Hispanic Chamber is, it could be not only Hispanic members, it could be other organizational members like the VFW, right? And I think that falls into that category. Try to leave it a little bit broad versus, is that what you're asking? Am I missing something?
No, that's exactly. But thank you both for everything you guys are doing.
Perfect. Thank you. What else?
Any other questions?
Fire.
Adam, I'd like to introduce you to Alfredo.
Oh, thanks. Like we don't text every day.
I couldn't help myself. You don't get many opportunities to get at this guy. And when you get them, take them.
Always. I appreciate you. Anybody questions? I mean, honestly, any members that want to get on board with us? And here's a recruitment effort for me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Rita would like to.
Rita. Don't talk about. Write that down.
There's all fire over there from all of that, they can see it.
We have a lot of items in public comment, so. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is gonna hopefully go to finance. Bring whatever financial information you got, get it submitted to staff, but.
Yeah, again,
Get this thing.
I asked for leniency because right now we're right in the middle of that, and I can't promise you or know where everything's at. We have gathered everything and now we're in an audit. So as long as it takes her, our portfolio, we will give it.
I'm gonna make a suggestion to you. And if we don't have something there, it'll be postponed or moved to a later date.
Yeah.
So whoever it is that's working on that, I'm not saying that you can't bring
what you got.
something older with, and hopefully give it some update or something.
You got it.
I mean, I know you guys are going through lots of reorganization over there. I applaud your effort. But when it gets to spending money, that finance committee's getting tougher all the time. So,
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of them from Missouri that got to show me.
yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, show us.
She got back from vacation. She's about 20% done. She's going back 3 years. We say 2 years, but it's a lot. And so, like, you know, so she's trying.
We'd rather you
We can.
We'd rather you be prepared than get rejected.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what Councilor Corn is saying. Be prepared. If we get delayed a month, so be it. We can always go back. Can we not retro the?
Yeah.
We'll have something.
The fiscal year doesn't start for another couple of months, so a month delay won't cause any undue harm, so.
Right. We'd rather you get it right than.
Next Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion?
You're about 10 days to get ready.
Thursday.
Got it.
Thursday.
From Thursday. 9 days. I said about.
You're a sheeper. You got one
That's
extra
right.
sheep or one less.
Well, make a motion to consider recommending the approval of the Roswell Hispano Chamber funding of the amended business retention development service agreement to the finance committee for the amount of $50,000.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Amend the business retention development services agreement with the Roswell Hispano Chamber of Commerce. Request for funding to be sent to the finance committee. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Being none, so moved. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 14.
Thank you.
Which is an AMR contract. I got to tell you, Mr. Fuller, you should talk maybe nicer to the lady who puts it in. So you can be moved up. They always seem to put you. Get it together.
I'm gonna take it as flattery and say they saved the best for last, but that's what we're gonna run with. So that's what we'll run with.
Best for last?
I'm not last, but I mean, I'm second best, which I'll take that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? How about if we table this one too? Oh, we can't do that?
Let's let this gentleman, let's let him run. This is
All
an
right,
important item.
all right, that'll be nice for a
Mr.
second.
Chair, the committee, we're here to ask for your consideration and recommending the approval of a one-year contract extension for American Medical Response, also known as AMR, in accordance with their current contract. So just a little bit of background. We're operating off the current contract. That contract, it used to be, we would sign it for 2 years. This last contract we did with the hopes of us starting that process, taking over, we're just doing 1-year renewal. So this is just very much in line. It's been budgeted as such. So the budget is there for this. We have no complaints anymore. They are keeping up with their contract perfectly. There's no complaints. If we do have complaints, bring them to AMR. They address them immediately. Service to your constituents and to the citizens, not only of Roswell but Chaves County, are tremendous. They're doing a really great job. This was approved 5-0 by the Public Safety Committee. I should say the financial consideration that has been budgeted is $1.347 and $800 a year. So $1.348 million a year, which equates to 112,333 a month. So with that, I stand for any questions that you may have for me.
Councilor Chapel.
Quick question. I think it might be for Mr. Paul. Is that with the subsidies in place? I know we were getting some additional subsidies from the state.
My understanding that is with the subsidies in place.
Okay, because we were paying $3 million a year not too long ago, correct?
No.
So I think
300,000. My apologies.
Yeah, I think it went from 165,000 annually, jumped up to 2.4 million, and we negotiated down to 1.34.
And then are we getting the subsidies on top of that, or is that the substitutes?
It's just a solid number for this year because did not the Medicare, Medicaid reimbursements change, or have they changed yet?
They have changed.
And this,
I'm talking with them right now. Hopefully I'll have some news in the next week or two.
Please, news.
That's
well, this number could be a changed number. Right. I think that's what.
Yes.
Correct.
Positive variance in terms of.
Yeah, positive. There's not, well, this is what we have as if there's no changes right now, but we're looking for a change in positive. Okay.
But we're a little ahead of the game right on that particular, yeah.
Chairman, this money can actually be utilized out of the first receipts tax increase.
Yes, sir.
That we've got set aside to later make a decision on if we're gonna bring our ambulance service in-house or not. So lots of things on this deal still got to be decided.
So this is equally the same number as
current year.
Current year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I don't think it's any surprises to us.
But Mr. Einschmidt, is this legally sufficient? Just says reviewed, it doesn't say approved.
Oh, so this is the same as last year's.
Okay, just want to make sure.
And I think the Mexico PRC may weigh in on this. Hopefully it'll be a little more favorable. I don't know. I understand there's a rate case going to get filed, but those guys typically take a long time to make a decision.
Oh, yeah.
So can't bank on those guys as much as we can with changes in reimbursement rates for Medicare and Medicaid.
It's going to hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
Well, it works.
Where are we in our conversations with the county as far as what their contribution level is going to be.
20%.
How much?
20%.
Which is what it was previous year.
Yeah, so 269,000. 269,000.
Well, I was just wondering because we charge county water residents 200%. And you're only wanting to get 20%. I don't understand the logic.
Be more. If I were able to write the laws, it would be more.
I just don't get it.
That's right.
One's 20%, the other's only 200%. It doesn't.
Mr. Chair, if I may, that 20% is pretty close to our run volume into the county.
I get it. I'm just trying to.
They're doing their fair.
Matrix, Mr. Chairman.
I'm just trying to get a little.
Apples and oranges.
They'll take all the free money. If they want to pay more, they will.
Yeah, I'm trying to get 200% out of them. So anyway, any further discussion? I get a motion.
Is this going to finance or does it have to be, is this already budgeted for or?
Go to finance.
I mean, it's over 100,000.
Whatever your pleasure is. I'm not going to tell you yay or nay.
Well, you're assuming I'm going to make the motion.
By chapter 2, it's got to go.
Yeah.
It's got to go. So to finance.
Okay, then I'll make the motion that we send to finance a recommendation to approve a 1-year contract extension for American Medical Response in accordance to the current.
Do I have a second? Second by Chapel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same, being none. So thank you, gentlemen. You get to go to Finance Committee. You. Okay, next item is item 15. Consider recommending the primary location for hangar and possible some general aviation hangars be located at the air facility.
Mr. Chairman, I need to abstain from this one due to employment.
Let it be known that Councilor Chapel abstained from all discussion concerning this item due to his employment.
You can go home now. Last one.
No, you gotta stay here.
I want to hear you.
Okay, taking this on.
I guess I will, Jennifer got bogged down with something else at the airport. From legal's position, I'm happy to discuss a couple of these things. There's really nothing to forward to council yet, though. I'm not sure. I think the Air Commission got very excited prospect of some more stuff, but by way of update, we received a letter of intent for the wide body hangar. Mr. Cole and I are going to be communicating a term sheet that would be some kind of minimum standards. It would more or less follow similar term sheets in the past. In particular, the wide body, the group, I'm not even sure if it's a group, but only from an individual. We don't have corporate name, we don't have their financing, we don't have, it was, like I said, the Airport Commission got very excited at something. And while we're happy with the letter of intent, I would like a lot more information before wasting your time on it.
Okay.
Similarly, near Hangar 91, we had a conversation this morning with the group out of Albuquerque building their hangars. They're very interested in coming down, but they also agree that we're at very preliminary phases based on the award of the air races. And then as far as the Christmas tree site, that could be an alternate for either, but we again need to see what the actual negotiation.
South Christmas tree.
Oh, South Christmas, sorry.
That's what it says. I'm
Yeah.
going to question you about that. Change out.
Yeah. So in any case, the alternate site is an alternate site for a hangar that may or may not happen based on a letter of intent that may or not be sufficient. So I applaud the eagerness of the Air Commission, but there's not a whole lot to discuss with you guys yet.
Thank you.
I guess this should have been listed under
Non-action.
for just reports. That's what this is. Mr. Chairman, I was at that meeting and, you know, sometimes I get so excited it's hard to understand exactly what the procedure is that they're following. But I would point out future general aviation hangars in the vicinity of 91. I went out there and drove the area. Mr. Hitchcock went with me. I actually drove it twice. And then he showed up and we drove it again. Where that is, to give you a little heads up, is kind of, I don't know if you're familiar where Jennifer, it's generally where those old tanks used to be.
Yeah, it's on the east end.
Yeah, right off the Hobson Road there.
Yeah, on the north.
So that area out there, realistically, you could use that old site where the tanks were to all the way to Hobson Road or close to it, and all the way back to where Earl Cummings comes into Hobson Road.
Right.
I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it was mentioned and I drove it and I liked the plan. I like the idea. It's not
Well,
the plan yet.
I will say that, we're going to look to the experts to look at this, where things need to go out there. I know that there was conversation a year or so ago about wanting to put the rub hanger out there where the Christmas tree is. I don't think as counselors we know or have the expertise to make a decision where something goes at that airport. That is not something that we should be doing, because you've got, 1,500 acres out there? How many, 15,000 acres, or what are we?
5,000.
Huh?
5,000.
5,000 acres out there. I don't think any one of us have ever done an airport. So
maybe one.
Maybe one. Maybe one. But he can't say anything. Okay, thank you for the report. Now we'll open this up for public participation. Do we have any?
Oh, you're too kind.
Who wants to go first?
Be considerably quicker than her. Actually, for our last discussion, we were talking about making some changes to the ordinance.
Yes.
The cannabis code and the subdivision code. So I brought it here to let you know that I have been working on it. We are piecing stuff together and would like to actually start scheduling some workshops so we can educate not just our new council, but our current planning and zoning commissioners as well.
Yeah.
Get everyone up to date, get everyone on the same page, and make this thing happen. We're so far behind. We need to get it done, and rather than put it off, I'd rather just hit the ground running and get going.
Yeah, I agree with you, Miguel. Miguel and I had some conversation how many months ago. I remember what it was.
It's been months of weeks.
And each code has not been updated for
too long,
and then it's been mishmash. And it's
what we've had is that they've made changes, they made amendments, so they've added things, but they haven't kept up with finding the balance in other sections, and we've run into a lot of black and white. It's left us no gray area to work with, and it's really hindered our growth. I think that the biggest problem we have in Russell is that we have no room to grow because we can't work around our own code.
Yeah.
So with knowing that, this is the time to do it.
Yeah. Are you modeling after some other?
I'm actually looking between several different communities that I've personally worked in and worked with,
okay,
as well as an international code. So I'm pulling a lot, stripping it back, working with the state on a lot of their minimum requirements, and actually have a pretty good handle on a cannabis code that I've put together that I think we can start working at now. And by the time we finish working on that one, I think we can actually roll into the subdivision code and get enough input from there, and we can roll right into the next one. So everything will hopefully line up, and I'm not one to waste my time. I know they take time, but my goal is to be done by the end of the year, have all three of them done and ready to go.
That would be a great goal for you to meet, and I applaud you for taking this project on and community development, working on this, because it's just something that's way past due. That, it's 2024 and things have changed a little bit. So
the idea is forward thinking, as we were discussing. So with that being said,
I want to take a look at scheduling some workshops, but I also need to discuss it with our planning and zoning commission. So is that something that we want to bring everyone together at the same time?
Yeah, because you have new members on there as well, and you need to get their input. And so we've got a turnover on the planning and zoning. So, yeah, I'm all for that. And when you've got a first draft, I'd be happy for you to shoot me whatever you have drafted.
Absolutely.
And share it with anyone else, not just me, but.
I'm willing to share it with everyone here because, I mean, we're all together. No one person can do this. So I welcome all input. The more help I have, the better.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Really.
Councilman Chapel can vote on that.
You can vote on that one.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
When the time comes.
He doesn't ever recuse himself from it. Ms. Storhofer, please. I'm going to give the floor to you. You've been patient.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and fellow counselors and honored guests. There may be something that you don't know about the Hispano Chamber and about Main Street Roswell. There are several entities here that do not ask for any money. We give money or we give services. Let's talk about the Hispano Chamber. When Councilor Opesa was running the Hispano Chamber, I was in his office weekly. Yes, and two of my nonprofit, the RSVP, which is Chaves County Retired Senior, whatever we are, I forget now. You know what happens when you get to be a senior. Oh, I didn't tell you who I was. I'm Rita Kane Dorhofer, very narrow, unstriped Chicago Cub mailbox with a black ribbon around it these days, Mark Road. Anyway, I was in his office with RSVP, Retired Senior Volunteer Program, free, and Keep Chaves County Beautiful. And then when Councilor Opesa left, sometimes the communication broke down. And once I figured out that we were used and abused by the Hispano Chamber, we pulled our support. Well, let's talk about Main Street. Main Street has never asked Keep Chaves County Beautiful or RSVP for any money. We write grants so we can support them. I do know that Barbara and Peggy and the board have partnerships. And we volunteer 9 hours, 3 days last year at the UFO/Alien Fest. And Main Street Roswell uses their money wisely. And they don't use and abuse Keep Chaves County Beautiful. But we volunteer to do whatever we can to help the city of Roswell. Yes, we are a county organization, but we come to help. Now, my last thing. You know the summer's here. You know the little darlings are out of school. And you'll ask me why I call them the little darlings here in a minute. But I had 21 departments of the city of Roswell offered to come and put on programs. I don't know about you, but I can only take them for 12 sessions. Yeah, I'm not that good. I'm not that young anymore. Anyway, I'm serious. It's a lot to do. 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, but I have got the program ready. And one of the first volunteers was the fire department. And we are free. We do what we can to help the little darlings and to expose them to what the city is. I think I'm done. Any questions?
No, I thank you and applaud you for your kind contributions to this community. You say Chaves County, but last I know, we're all Chaves County. Roswell is in Chaves County, and I applaud you for not making that separation from Chaves County, Keep Chaves County Beautiful, and doing that. But, you know, the things that you do because you care.
And this administration, this city council understands that. It wasn't always like that. We were always the red-haired, wicked stepchildren of Roswell. Oh, No, Bobby, come on. Now, you know that. Anything that you ask of us, we do. We try and do, and we write grants. Not for us, it's to help the different organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond?
As for public comment only, if you want to comment publicly, that's the public citizen. Well, is there anyone on the line?
I am.
Yeah,
I'm
we need another one.
Juliana's here. Can I say something?
Who is it?
Juliana.
Oh, Juliana, are you a private citizen or a counselor?
I'm both. So
Please help yourself.
I wasn't able to be on for the whole Main Street part or anything, but I just want to point out that the money that was given to Main Street for the UFO Festival, that's completely separate from anything that the Main Street mission covers. Because we have I don't know if you've seen the budget for what we spent on the UFO Festival. TJ has that. But the money that Main Street is requesting, I think, for their organization is to complete their mission. It's completely separate from the monies they've received for the UFO Festival. I just wanted to point that out. It's not even in the same, pocket. So.
Yeah, they're not connected items at all.
Not at all. Yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
further? Anyone else we have up there?
Fair so, Mr. Chairman.
Going once, twice, meeting adjourned. You ain't call your council.
Well, the meeting's over. She and I have been wrestling for a long.
Right, but wait a minute.
I'm impressed you read your back.
Oh, I always do front to back.
I always do.
Tried to go up real like you guys.
Thank you.
When I we got the alone one that you need from King Chavis County Beautiful or RSVP. You got it.
We should keep it at 200%.
Did you call us cousin?
I don't know.
Did you call us cousin or did she help?